Well, hello there, motherfuckers, and I had to do a video on the new era. I haven't done an individual video. I've talked about this in Raw reviews and, here and there during little other rant videos, but I gotta talk specifically about the new era. This is a new era, apparently. Now, this is another bullshit era, just like the reality era, which was something that Triple H said on Raw that I don't even think was supposed to be a new era. It's just something he was saying in a promo. But people took that as that was the era that we were in. As far as I'm concerned, we're not in the PG era. We're not in the reality era. We're not even in the new era. We're in a fucking shit era, a fucking drenched with diarrhea era. It's disgusting. It's bad. It's poor, and it's full of bad ratings and wrestlers with no charisma. I take a look at Sami Zayn and I say to myself, this guy's a great wrestler, but this is not a guy to usher in the new era. You look at the guys who are responsible for ushering in new eras. You had Hulk Hogan ushering in the Rock and Wrestling connection, which was actually more successful than the Attitude Era, believe it or not. Um, the Attitude Era was ushered in by Stone Cold Steve Austin. The Rock helped him out with it along with Mick Foley. I guess you could say Triple H did too. But and then you could say the ruthless aggression era, maybe Brock Lesnar and a little bit with John Cena with the challenge to Kurt Angle got people excited. But from that point on, the era weren't so clearly defined. We just kept getting more and more into the shit, to the big vat of shit that is the current era that we're in. And whenever you want to call this era the new era, the PG era, the reality era, it's not a good era that we're in. It's just a really fucking bad one. And you don't have anybody good in this era. You had Daniel Bryan, which I'll even admit was a guy that didn't really have a whole lot of charisma. He was just a likable guy. And is that what we're getting into now? And I even have to say is that, that was acceptable. You want to have a couple of guys that are really popular that don't have that much charisma, such as Benoit, for example, where we let him get away with not being able to talk that well, even though he was a better talker than Roman Reigns. You could say that as an example. But, we let too many people slide when we felt that them not having a character. And, you could even say, even guys like Benoit, at least they had things like this and they had the music to go along with it. There were characteristics that added to them, to their character, and added to who they were. And there were certain revolutionary things that they did, even if they didn't cut these amazing, grand promos to open up the show and didn't have 1,000 catchphrases. But now Sami Zayn, he doesn't do anything. There's no hand gestures. There's no, amazing music. There's nothing like that about a guy like him. There's nothing about really any of these guys that has anything interesting going for them. It's like a guy like Dean Ambrose. This guy has a lot of potential, and it's all about untapped potential. So, you have guys that could be really over, and they might be to a certain point, but they could be even more over than they really are, or truly be over to the point where they are a household name. So, I mean, one of the biggest problems is that a lot of these people don't even look like stars. And we've gone over this time and time again. Sami Zayn doesn't look like a star. A guy like Kevin Owens has a lot of talent, but he's really out of shape. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, and I've even, I've even put some of these guys down. Guys like Batista look like stars. Sadly, Randy Orton looks like a star, even though I hate his guts. There's other problems with that, but at least you can make the argument that these guys were like taking a look at, and you could see why they are on the roster and the positions that they are. Like I've said, All the things I've said about John Cena, such as his character and everything, you could see why Vince McMahon likes John Cena and why he would want this guy to be a top guy. And you could even see why he wants someone like Roman Reigns to be at the top. Roman Reigns does look like a star, but unfortunately, the man has terrible abilities. He can't talk and he can't wrestle. But that's besides the point. I mean, it is so important to have the look. You go through the Attitude Era and you look, and there's like 30 or 40 guys right off the bat where they all looked like wrestlers. You know, Stone Cold, The Rock, Mick Foley, Triple H, Ken Shamrock, Dan Severn, Goldust, all these guys, they all looked like they belonged in a wrestling ring. And and then you take a look at some of these other guys, and you're like, what are they doing there? As I said, watching wrestling with my dad, Dean Ambrose, he just looks like a plain guy. Sami Zayn, he just looks like Seth Rogen. He just there and doesn't have much of a build. I mean, you're just looking at these guys, and you're just like, all right, they don't really look like much of anything. They don't look like wrestlers. They don't look larger than life. That's why I said, I take a look at a guy like Big Cass. This guy is cutting these promos with catchphrases. He's also has the look, 7 feet tall. He's got the look. He looks like a wrestler. So you could see why someone like him would capture someone's attention right off the bat. That's really just all I'm saying here. It's like, but you want to call this a new era? Are we basically what is the new era? Is it just a bunch of guys that really don't even seem like they belong and they're not even getting over with the crowd? As much as you want to say Sami Zayn is not connecting with the crowd, he might be pulling off a couple of dazzling moves and people are cheering for him for having a good match. But this is not a guy that's ever going to get to the level of any of those wrestlers that I just named from the previous eras. That's a problem. Why isn't there anybody that could, we had Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and Andre the Giant. And, then we did have Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. All these guys were guys that were over throughout the eras. How come we don't have these guys anymore? And I keep hearing, well, those, and I kept using the excuse, well, there'll never be another Stone Cold. There'll never be another Bret Hart. There'll never be another Hulk Hogan. And that is true. There never was another one of any of those guys, but they all had individual personalities, and it was all about the writing and how they conducted their characters and everything. You got a lot of talented guys, but if the writing is bad, no one's going to get over. So where is the transition here from Hulk Hogan to Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels to Stone Cold Steve Austin and beyond? Where there's something missing here. There's a missing part to this puzzle. There's supposed to be progression, but there's not. And see, that is the problem with the new era. They haven't progressed to that point. They haven't found that batch of new stars. And I'm sorry, but these are not the guys to get the job done. At least not, in the way how they're being presented to us. It's either the presentation or whatever, but they just don't look like stars. It might have something to do with the overall presentation, but they just don't. These just look like indie guys. And see, what they feel is just like what Road Dogg is saying on Twitter. You just throw these guys out, have a good match, and just assume, oh, times have changed, so we don't have to do things the way how they are. Stop it. Stop listening to the internet fans. Stop listening to the people on Twitter. Stop listening to people in the YWC that keep saying storylines don't matter, feuds don't matter, that just, having a good match is all that matters. This is, not what the WWE has always been about. It's never been just about the matches. It's been about so much more. It's about the story leading up to the match, the characters and how they interact with each other leading up to the match. It was all about that. It was all about telling a story. Vince McMahon was always the big proprietor of telling stories in the ring. It wasn't so much, not that he was, happy if there was a bad match, but it was always about leading up to it. Now we have terrible build-up. We never, feel like any of these feuds have a satisfying conclusion or satisfying progression or anything. We make excuses, everything under the sun. And really, this is a new era. This is a new era, and the ratings have just gotten worse. Nobody is taking to these new things, and there's nothing new about it. As I said, Stephanie is still around. Shane McMahon is still around. These are people from the past and everything. This is not new. And yeah, it's not saying that everything has to be new, but it should still feel new. It feels old. It feels like the same stuff we've been getting for the past 6, 7 years. Nothing has really changed. It feels all the same. I really pinpoint like 2011, things really felt like they were about to be different with CM Punk and The Miz and R-Truth causing problems. That year felt a little bit more revolutionary, as I have to say. I still have to go back and say I think that year they actually made the most progression, in my opinion. And then they just fell flat after that. And they really haven't had a year that felt like they were going anywhere. 2014, 2013, 2015, all these years, 2012 especially, these were all shitty years that really they felt like they were at a standstill. We haven't got a really good year in a while, just times where we've seen flashes of brilliance. It's not a new era. This is a new joke that's being played on us. They're just like, oh, you know what? Fuck it. If we can't genuinely improve, let's just pretend like we are. And you think it's working? 2.26? Really? You really think that it was even lower than that 2 weeks ago? You really think when we're this low, we're in the lower twos? You really think that trying to pull one over on your fans is the best move? And all I'm seeing is, saying back on Twitter once again, oh, ratings, ratings, ratings. That's all anybody ever cares about. You're in the television business and you're not getting ratings and you're not concerned about getting high ratings for that matter, then get the fuck out. Seriously. I mean, why are we even on TV? Why do we have a fucking program on here if we're not attempting to get a quality show going here? We're not getting anywhere. We're not doing anything. All we're getting is shit quality. We're not getting the quality that we got. We're not getting any big stars. We're not getting any larger than life superstars. Instead of answering for all this, we're making excuses. The NBA playoffs. Oh, our international markets are doing well. Fuck your international markets. Fuck the NBA. Fuck all these excuses under the fucking sun. Raw should not be 3 hours. Raw is a bloated fucking mess. It was a mess when it was 2 hours. Why expanding it to 3? Why did they think this was going to get a good idea? Yeah, there's more room for more commercials and more sponsors. I get that. But if your ratings are dwindling, having an extra hour is not helping matters. The same thing happened with Nitro. Adding a third hour to a declining program is not going to save anything. And that's what always cracks me up. Why would they do the one move when they weren't having any successes back in 2012? Why would they take a page out of WCW's playbook by making Raw just like Nitro 3 hours? And they did it during the same time when things were on the downturn. It was like, you have all these network specials, and they're on the network with the Monday Night War, talking about how it was a mistake for Nitro to go 3 hours, and Raw is 3 hours as well. How much sense does that make, motherfuckers? Does not make any sense at all. Why would they go and do the thing that they are bashing WCW for doing? Why would they turn around and go do the same move themselves? Can anybody give me a hint as to why this might even remotely be a good idea or even make the least little bit of sense? Not a new era, guys. This is just a practical joke that they're playing on us. Unfortunately, I think that they're serious. Like I said, instead of making a genuine effort of trying to improve things, they're just pretending like they are. That is sad. That is really fucking sad. All right, motherfucker.